Always that balance of work versus rest. Hey, the Bears have insisted all offseason that Andy Dalton will be their starting quarterback to begin the year. But after trading up for Justin Fields in the draft, it's hard not to wonder how soon he'll start. And if camp is any indication so far, it could be sooner than later. Our Louis Riddick tweeting this about Fields. Not going to say how crazy good some of the things I have been told about Justin Fields, the professional, have been thus far. Don't want to hear the quote, "It's only training camp brigade," puff up their chest and scream at the top of their lungs. But it has been that good, just saying. Back with Schefter, and what's the latest with the quarterback competition that's currently heating up in Chicago?
Well, despite the fact that Lou's ready to put Justin Fields in Canton this weekend where the festivities are, the Bears are standing behind Andy Dalton right now as QB1. And Justin Fields does have a bright future. Lou's absolutely right. And you can tell when Lou is tweeting about somebody like that, he knows things that others don't. And he does here. And the Bears love Justin Fields in the upside. But I think that they're going to be very cognizant of not rushing him along and making sure that Andy Dalton gets first crack on opening day. Still hard to imagine Justin Fields starting on opening day, but we also haven't played a preseason game yet. We all haven't seen him flash during the preseason. And if he can go out there in the preseason and light it up the way that, say, Russell Wilson did back when the Seahawks drafted him in the third round, then we can revisit this conversation. But until then, Andy Dalton remains QB1 for the time being.
Schefter, great insight throughout the show all day today. Thanks so much for all of that. So, Marcus, this is the same conversation we had earlier about the 49ers. It's not will Justin Fields start in week one, but should Justin Fields be the week one starter?
Yes, he should. But let me get beyond that because I done said that 1,000 times, babyface. Here's the deal. When you think about Andy Dalton versus Justin Fields at quarterback, are you thinking that Andy Dalton is going to be responsible for 4 to 5 more wins? Then we not having the conversation. I get it. I would understand that in its totality. Obviously, if the experience is going to account for 4 or 5 more wins for the Chicago Bears, we can end this discussion. We know who should be the starter. But I don't believe it will. And if you're thinking that you'll get 1 extra win or 2 because of Andy Dalton being your starter as opposed to Justin Fields, then put Justin Fields in the damn game and let him start week 1 so he can go through this fire. Matt Nagy, show us what you learned from the mismanagement of Mitchell Trubisky and the way you deployed him from an offensive standpoint. Show us y'all had a plan when you decided to go up and get Justin Fields exactly for what you wanted him to be with this team. Now, all of this is spoken with the thought that Justin Fields understands what they want to do from an offensive standpoint, and he can go out and let his athletic ability and his talent shine. If he don't know what he's doing, then obviously you don't put him out there. But I'm working beyond all of those things based on what we're hearing that Justin Fields is having a successful camp up until this point. Put the man in the game week 1, rip the Band-Aid off, let him use his athleticism to get over some things he may not know, because Andy Dalton ain't going to account for 4 or 5 more wins than if you were to put Justin Fields in as the starter. Yeah. I believe you got a better chance with Fields at quarterback.
Patience sounds well and good until Justin Fields starts throwing darts on the practice field. So, Dan, tell us about the skill set that Justin Fields that maybe people know, but remind us of what it's all about.
I mean, he's wildly talented, right? I mean, we've talked about the ability to throw the ball downfield, the athleticism that covers things up. For me, Fields is this, guys. If Matt Nagy is going to sit there and tell us, listen, Justin Fields is not going to start because of we're not good enough around him, meaning my offensive line can't protect him, or we can't get open on the perimeter enough, or our backs aren't good enough. If you're not going to start him because of that, and that being your reason, I could vibe with that. Like, I could sit down and have a conversation and understand that. But if you're going to sit there and tell me you're going to start Andy Dalton because it's the best option for the football team, or you think he's better, that's where I have an issue. Because I'm sitting here trying to rack my brain and he's not better athletically. He can't push the ball downfield the same way. He can't diversify your offense the same way. I mean, just because someone's more experienced doesn't make them better. Just because someone's more experienced does not make them better. And I need someone to sit there and tell me exactly why Andy Dalton is a better option than Justin Fields.
Well, rather than do that, because that sounds boring to me, I'm going to ask Mina why Justin Fields would be superior and what the offense will look like if Justin Fields, or when Justin Fields becomes the starter.
This is a fun question. It's something I imagine Bears fans have been thinking about, dreaming about ever since the draft. The reality field is there'll be a lot of similarities to what we actually saw at the end of the Mitchell Trubisky era, schematically. That outside zone run game, which is what he did at Ohio State as well. Bootleg play action passing. But because Justin Fields brings these tools that Trubisky lacked and Dalton does as well, you also want more deep shot plays. Danny alluded to the deep ball accuracy. You want more designed running, more than he did at Ohio State. More RPOs, just more of everything that takes advantage of his extremely unique skill set. And I know, regardless of what Matt Nagy is saying, he is thinking about all these things. He has been planning all offseason. So for me with Fields, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when and how does it look. And I think it could look spectacular given what we saw from him in college.
Marcus, we're under the last 30 seconds of the show, so I know I've asked you this 19,000 times. So why not make it 19,001? Do you suspect that when week 1 comes around, yes or no, is Justin Fields starting for the Bears?
Absolutely.
There you have it. Marcus Word, Marcus Beers, his words.
Strong, headed to
Write
a
it down,
PTA
etch it in
meeting.
stone as far as I'm concerned. NFL Live is back tomorrow, same time, same place. We hope you had as much fun as we did.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.